the parents of Vasil to a video where we will be talking about an important event occurring in Poland every single year. As a lot of you may know, the Independence Day of Poland is on the 11th of November. Today, me and my colleague will be taking you through the historical background and some events that occurred before it. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
After disappearing for 123 years from European political maps, Poland finally regained its independence in November 1918. It wouldn't have been possible without the dedication and eagerness of the Polish society, who during the whole period of occupation taught the younger generations about Polish culture, language, and
To wait many years for the appearance of favorable circumstances. It didn't happen until First World War, during which Poland's partitioners broke their solidarity on the Polish issue and started fighting against each other. Despite many years of political repression, persecution, mass deportation to Siberia, and bloody suppression of uprisings, Poles did not cease to hope for independence.
In order to protect the nationality against the increasing influences of Germanization and Russification, secret education was conducted and efforts were made to preserve the Polish language in schools. The region of Galicia, which enjoyed broad political autonomy since the 1860s, became the center of Polish national activity.
Activists hunted down by the Russians were taking refuge there. Polish political parties were operating freely, and the Polish language was commonly used in education, administration, and the judiciary. Polish national celebrations were celebrated like the anniversary of the outbreaks of national uprisings or the passing of the May 3rd Constitution.
Chances for regaining the independence increased when the invaders, Russia on one side, Germany and Austria-Hungary on the other, began to dispute with each other. Numerous international crises which erupted at the time, such as the Moroccan or Balkan ones, made the vision of a pan-European war more possible, and consequently, the internationalization of the Polish
Well prepared for the conflict in the year 1908, Józef Piłsudski and his associates founded the Związek Walki Czynnej, aka Union of Active Struggle in Lwów. Soon, paramilitary organizations started to emerge all over Galicia, such as the Polish Riflemen's Association, aimed at providing military training for Polish youths and at preparing them for the fight for independence.
When the summer of 1914 came, the beginning of the war, Poles had to decide which side they would choose in the conflict. Some, including Józef Piłsudski, wanted to rebuild Poland as the Republic with the help of the Central Powers. Others tied their hopes with the Russian Empire and its allies in the West. According to this scenario, those powers could first unite the Polish lands and then, in the long term, lead Poland towards regaining its independence.
Of Poles who were mobilized into the occupying countries, the war was fratricidal. The warfare itself contributed to massive property damage, and thousands of people were forced to flee their homes. At the very beginning of the war, Poland demonstrated their right to a country by taking up arms.
On August 6, 1914, Józef Piłsudski led his first cadre company across the Austrian-Russian border, entering the Russian partition territories with his armed troops. Soon after, the Polish legions began to form in Galicia. Over a one-year period, the legions expanded to the size of 3 brigades, totaling 20 to 25,000 soldiers. Józef Piłsudski soon took command of the 1st Brigade.
1914 to 1916, the legions fought in the territories of Lesser Poland, the Eastern Carpathians, Lublin, and Volhynia. The supporters of rebuilding Poland with the aid of the Central Powers established in the summer of 1914, aka the Supreme National Committee based in Kraków, with the sole purpose of becoming the main political representation of the Poles.
The Polish parties cooperated with the Triple Entente and in November 1914 founded the Polish National Committee. Roman Dmowski was established as one of the main leaders. This committee organized a small unit called the Puławy Legion. And in 1915, the Polish National Committee moved to Petrograd, where Dmowski emigrated to France. He soon became the main member of the committee.
They fought for the Polish question in the Entente camp. The break in the matters of the Polish came in question in November 1916. The new Russian authorities, the French and British, recognized the right of the Poles to the self-determination. Despite initial euphoria, the act of November 5th quickly disappointed the Polish people since the partitioners didn't define the borders of the Polish state. Partitioners treated Polish institutes of public administration as advisory boards to the occupying authorities.
In the spring of 1917, Polish legionaries grew frustrated about the future of Poland and its army. They were worried about losing its strictly national character. At the same time, the US joined the war against the Central Powers. Piłsudski broke alliance with the Central Powers, and as a result, the Polish legions were dissolved. The legionaries were imprisoned near Kalisz, Zagrze, and Łomża. Piłsudski himself was interned and in military prison at the fortress of Magdeburg. Only the soldiers of the 2nd Brigade continued to fight Russia. Józef Heller became their...
Polish activists lobbied in favor of the Polish question. Ignacy Paderewski, a popular composer, was highly active in that struggle. He was a close friend to the President of the US, aka Woodrow Wilson. The demand for Poland's independence was soon recognized by the Triple Entente leaders as well. In France, volunteers from the Polish community formed the Blue Army.
At the same time, 3 corps were created within the Russian army. After the October Revolution, those corps tried to maintain neutrality between the war among the White and Red Army. Then, the war in the West ended in October-November and the Austro-Hungarian Empire fell apart. Poles began to disarm the occupants. They started to create institutions of the independent state. A new time in Polish history began.
November 11th, Piłsudski arrived to Warsaw. He took full civil and military control over the country as the chief of the state. In Lublin, almost at the same time, on November 6th, new government was formed with the socialist Ignacy Daszyński as its head. All over the country, Polish local authorities were established.
The young Polish state had to deal with numerous problems, among which the unification of the administrative, legal, and monetary systems, protection of new borders, reconstruction after years of neglect and war damage, and finally organizing a new political system.
The burning problem was also the strong ethnic diversity of the Polish lands and the significant percentage of national minorities, including Ukrainian, Jewish, Belarusian, and German minorities. Unstable borders were subject to changes almost throughout the entire war. That's to the end of the video. Hopefully you learned something new throughout the video. Other than that, thank you for your attention.